Jazzcast Pros.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Getting Real with Bossy with the Kellys.
How are you today, Kelly?
Fantastic. I am fantastic. Just in a really good mood, in a good place, and I'm rolling with it. I'm really working on the manifestations that we talked about earlier this year.
I was legitimately just going to ask you that.
And I think that I've had no real tragedies yet, so I think it's working, right?
Yeah, knock on something?
I know.
Jesus.
Why do I say stuff like that?
Charlene, I know you're listening. Knock on something for Kelly.
Please do.
My mom carries a piece of wood around.
She's a genius.
So wherever she's
so
listening
smart.
to this episode, she can knock for you.
Knock, please, please. Ugh, I'm the worst.
So I'm trying to stick to my hopeful 2024, my hopeful and healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I recently saw a Beyonce quote I'm carrying with me. And it's never let success get to your head and never let failure get to your heart. And for all you small business owners out there, a little reminder, according to Lending Tree, 20% of small businesses fail in the first year, 50% in the fifth, 65% in the 10th year. So for every success that we hear about, there are millions of failures that no one talks about.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that we try to do a little differently here is those struggles and those failures.
Yeah, it's important to talk about because they're real.
And today we're talking to Pauly. We're such huge fans.
For so many reasons. If you are local, find a reason to meet him because he just will fill you with light and joy. And if you are not, you need to figure out how to get to Rochester and meet him because he's just a bundle of joy. And I love, because he is such a bundle of joy, but he's so comfortable talking about those hard times and what he's learned from them, which is so wonderful because, you know, people will see him as this huge success because he is, but he's very comfortable talking about those hard times and those failures and those mistakes.
Yes. And he will be speaking, if you're not Rochester-based or if you are, at Focus and Fortify, March 11th, 12th, 18th, and 19th. This year is our summit, and Pauly is one of our speakers, and we're so excited to have him. He is our first non-spouse male member of Bossing, Business Owner Support Services, which is our umbrella company. And he's the reason that we really wanted, I mean, our husbands, we saw like firsthand that they needed support, but he was really the first person to reach out directly to us and be like, hey, I wish I had this kind of support.
Right.
What is this Bossy group?
Mm-hmm. And how do I get there?
Yeah, and that's what made us really want to extend out. And Pauly's going to teach us so much in today's episode. He's going to talk about so much.
I love when he talks about mistakes that he's made and how he's really doing restorative justice and restorative practices, which you know is my passion. And we just were able to speak about with Leadership Rochester a couple weeks ago. But it's so important to restore when things happen, when bad things happen, when mistakes are made, to really work hard to restore and repair that harm. It's not only good for the person that you're working with or that you need to make things right with, but it's really good for yourself too. And it's so much easier to move on. I know that I am one of those people that if I don't make something right away, it just eats and eats and eats at me. And part of the gifts that I've been given from learning more about restorative justice over the last 15, 20 years is how to kind of repair that harm with myself.
For those listening, you can hire Kelly to come into your company and teach you how to have restorative practices embedded into what you do for your discipline policies. You can reach out to her separately or through bossyrock.com.
Absolutely. Love it. Thank you. Thanks for the plug.
You're welcome. You do amazing work and you've taught me so much, making sure that you're addressing those things in the moment. And Pauly tells a really fun story, not fun, but a really great story about that. And that he reminds us that setbacks are stepping stones. There's a reason something didn't work. And as the business owner, you get to figure out what that reason was and move forward.
Right. And learn from it and talk about it. And I always, when we talk about that with so many people. I think back to Elena and that like every chapter of your story is important. You can't just rip it out because it wasn't fun or it was sad or brings back bad memories. They're all important and they're all take part in shaping who we are.
Yeah. And it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it.
That's right.
And I think one of the things that I enjoy about Pauly is the conversation about investing in yourself. He has taken already a giant leap for himself in his business. from where he started to where he is now. And now he's looking at taking another giant leap. And it's terrifying. Most of us don't have money sitting in the bank account just waiting to invest in ourselves. So you're taking on debt, you're taking on loans, you're, turning in your retirement plan, and it's terrifying. And you just hope it works out for the best. And I enjoy that he shares that because as someone who's currently going through it, it is so scary.
So scary. Yeah, absolutely. We'll learn a lot from him this year, I think. I'm excited to follow his story and see where he's at.
I hope you guys enjoy listening.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Kelly,
the host of Getting Real with Bossy, the real, raw, and honest podcast about small business ownership. With our experience, 9 businesses and over 25 years, we continue to bear it all and share what we wish we had known.
We move past the must be nices and start getting real. Come along as we interview small business owners and get the true story. Hi.
Hi,
Paulie. We're so excited to have you here today.
I am so excited. I am such a fan. I listened to your first episode like 3 minutes after it came out.
Oh my God.
I read the email that you sent us after that about 3 minutes a day. Or 3 times a day. Yeah.
Oh, you emailed us at like 5:30 in the morning. So it was like the first thing both of us saw when we got up in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Like, oh, it worked. It worked. We have men listening to us. This podcast we made for women, which is really, it's fantastic because that's what we thought we had to make it for, and to know that that wasn't necessarily who we were reaching was pretty amazing.
Oh, I mean, there's so much stuff you talk about that crosses over. I do not pretend to understand everything that you guys have to deal with because I'm positive you deal with more shit than we deal with, but we still deal with
similar shit that we would never have to deal with. So,
there's still plenty of shit to deal
all
with.
The shit.
Even with the penis. There's still plenty of shit to deal
All
with.
the shit to
All
do
the
with
shit.
it.
Yes.
So I have to start with, I never know what to call you because I've always known you as Pauly G.
Yeah.
Because you were a radio personality.
Yeah.
You are now the 2.5 radio personality, 2.5 radio
2.5
personality that we've had on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you Paul now? Because every time I look you up to like email you or tag you in something, it's always Paul. And I'm like, oh, I always call
Everybody calls me Paulie. Obviously, my real name is actually Paul, obviously, right? But everybody calls me Paulie because of the years and years on the radio. But when I created my like email addresses or my signatures, my wife said it has to be Paul. Paulie's just not that professional. But to be honest with you, I sort of now regret that because Paulie's at least unique.
Yeah.
It's a little different, There's a million Pauls, but like there's not that many Paulies. So I don't have a good answer.
All right,
I don't know
so
what
it's okay if I call you Pauly throughout this interview.
Whichever one.
Do you have a preference?
You want to go with?
Because I mean, we'll do what you like.
Okay.
We're here for you.
I would like to hear you pronounce my last name. I heard I should ask you to do that.
He's such an asshole.
Did he do that on the way out the
Of course
door?
he did. My husband. Guglielmo. Am I wrong?
Technically, I don't know. It's supposed to be.
You don't know. It's your
We
name.
came up with a bit. I can't commit to the bit, Don. I'm so sorry. I can't do it. I can't do it. I already broke character, Don. I'm sorry. The bit was going to be that every time you said it, I was going to tell you it was wrong.
Oh, all right.
So I always thought
I
it was
can't commit, I'm sorry.
Guglielmo, and then I was told this morning it's Guglielmo.
It's Guglielmo. That's kind of how it's supposed to be. But if like a real Italian, like when I'm in the Italian
How do you
Civic League,
introduce yourself?
Guglielmo.
Okay.
Paul Guglielmo.
So-
but when I do the Italian Civic League, I always get old Italian people who say it's supposed to be Guglielmo, which is true, but it's Guglielmo. It's
Guglielmo.
fine.
So,
Yeah.
All right.
It's whatever. I'll answer anything you
I've been
want.
practicing it. I just want to get it right.
okay.
We interviewed a woman from Denmark,
Yes.
Sweden.
Yes, I didn't know which interview you were talking
Sweden.
about.
We
for a second.
interviewed a Disney on Ice princess.
Yeah.
And her name was not a typical American name. And the entire morning, I'm like, I watched a couple videos that she was in. I'm like, I'm kind of not fuck this up. And I didn't. And it was very hard for me not to correct people I was on with. I'm like, you're saying it wrong, but like, don't be that dick.
It's just like 4 J's and 2 K's.
Yeah.
And not, like there's no vowel anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
what do I don't know.
Yeah, that A doesn't sound like in my
Even
A sound.
Metrus. Like I get so many people that pronounce it differently, and I'm Kelly O'Keefe, and you
Right.
can't screw up Kelly O'Keefe.
Yeah.
And so I got married, and I was like, how can you screw up Metrus?
Right.
Like it's exactly how it's spelled.
Yeah. What was before Bush?
Delperdage.
Oh, that was tough.
Yeah,
That's
I was fine to be
Yeah, you
switched
were
out
like,
of that
yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that name, but I still get, how's that spelled? I'm like, we're not the beer company. There's no
Yeah.
C in my bush.
I just always
the
had
thing
you as
that
Kelly
grows.
B.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, you're Kelly B.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which, back to what your original question, G. Most people just call me Pauly G.
Pauly G.
You're right.
So Pauly, as you hear, is our first huge supporter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Throughout the pandemic, we talked a lot about, and before the pandemic, we were in talks about how to reach men without losing what and who we were. And your reaction to our podcast made us go, we need to take this seriously. Like, we really need to talk this through and like figure out how we want to do this.
Right. It was something we wanted to do, but we didn't know if it was justified to do. So you let us know it was justified, and then it became, we now have to figure it out, because we love what Bossy is. We love what it is for us and for the women that we work with. And we knew we needed to keep that, but we knew there would need to just something else. Because
I love that. I'm so appreciative of that. Like, you guys,
We're appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah, again, it all resonates, you know, and I know there's a little piece that doesn't. I've never had to walk in your shoes, and I recognize that. But there's so much that does resonate.
Well, and I think sometimes with not so much the group that we have now, but back in the day when we were really just open to everyone, and there was a lot of, well, we don't need a man's voice in this. That's not what this is for. And I was like, wouldn't it be great to find men that want to support this is about supporting small business owners. It's not, I mean, Bossy, yes, for women, but don't you just want to know who in general supports other small business owners? Because that's not women specific.
Throughout women, there's some women who don't like our group.
Right.
And that's fine. It's not your thing. It's not your life experience. Some women say they've never experienced some of the things we talk about. I think they're lying, but that's just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So my first question for you, Pauly.
Yeah.
How do you handle it all with the wife and the kids and the business?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first I want to tell you that, I'm sorry. I don't mean to go off track.
I've been dying to answer that question.
There's a story that you tell that I can relate to so much, but it's what we were just talking about. Can I always relate to a woman's point of view on something? And it's almost the exact opposite problem. So the story you tell about being in your building after the flood and asking the men, what if these walls come down? And then being like, oh, listen, lady, you know, that story, I almost have like the opposite. Do you know how many times some contractor will look at me because I'm a man, I guess, and assume I have any idea what the fuck they're talking about? Like, I don't know. I don't even know if it's called hanging drywall. I think that's what it's called.
I think you hang it.
couldn't.
And then you mud it. There's mudding.
Taping
and then mudding.
I know hammer. I know screwdriver. There's two of those.
I used to know the screwdrivers, and I somehow forgot them, and now I'm so scared of saying the wrong one. I'm like, flat or X?
Right.
Yeah. I do understand wrench, but then they've got like these socket wrenches, which then I'm lost, right? So like I'm the guy who the contractors will start asking questions to, and I'm always like, oh, I don't know.
Right.
Like you can't ask me. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I make sauce. I don't know how to hang drywall. I think
I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm doing kitchen
We're
work.
doing our best with what we know, and I do not know how to build a house.
I do know the difference between a nail and a screw. That's the last. So those are my fix it sort of credentials right there. But the how do you do it all thing? The answer is a really organized calendar and trying to find just everything is scheduled really sort of regimented. Like I'm sure you guys have the same thing, but if I pulled up my Google Calendar, it's just where am I supposed to be and when, and completely fucked if that thing goes down.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where to be tomorrow if that thing goes down. Also, though, stress is just you're just living with stress, and one of my biggest downfalls is I eat my stress. I'm God knows how much overweight, way overweight, and that's a matter of just being too damn busy, just not taking a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's if you're so busy, like I find that if I can't eat a good, like, and I don't have time to have a meal, I'm just going to eat whatever I can find as I go. But then I eat so much more because I'm going. But for me, food is my reward. Yeah. And I get so pissed off because ice cream is my thing.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, I work out so that I can eat all the ice cream I want. Like, that is the reason I work out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like shopping for clothes. And I want to eat a lot of ice cream. That's it. But now my kids stay up so damn late, I don't get my fucking ice cream.
Not even if you hide in the kitchen on the floor?
They know where to find me now.
No.
Lennox blew up my spot when she was like a year old. I hid for years on the kitchen floor eating my ice cream. Yeah. Lennox would learn how to walk, found me every time, instantly.
Do you ever try taking out the garbage and letting that last about 5 minutes? That's a trick.
I can't eat ice cream in the garbage.
Well, yeah, I could teach you.
I just
There's a way, Callie.
down And like, I don't even necessarily enjoy the ice cream, but it's like my goddamn reward. And they don't ever go to bed anymore because they got older. And now I don't get, or like I get my ice cream and I sit down and they come back down and I'm like,
get out of here.
they're ruining now I ate my ice cream and it didn't even feel good because like, you were here. And then I love my kids. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And you handle a lot of stress all day long and you go, 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 go. And then you come home and you go, 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 go. And then I'm like, ice cream time.
I also have a wife who is the food police, which she should be, right? Because she wants me to be healthy and be around for a long time, and I do need to lose weight. She loves you. She loves me. She wants me to be around for. So she's not wrong. Every time she says, "Don't eat the ice cream," she's right. I shouldn't be eating the ice cream. But also, there's the wife and the child who are constantly just kind of like they hear a little. What are you opening? Yeah. This is my reward.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a 15-hour day.
My youngest can hear the cupboard opening from like houses away.
Yeah.
She'd be like, I'm hungry. Do you know what I haven't had? And I'm like, she knows I got into the pretzels. I haven't had pretzels today. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got like ears of steel.
Yeah. Yeah. I suck at saying no. I'm like so afraid to say no. The calendar is too busy. Life is too busy. We had a talk just a few weeks ago, my wife and I, about trying to start to say no to things and kind of just what am I going to start to say no to? And we came up with some things that I say yes to right now that I'm going to start to say no to. And I've been okay about it for the last couple of weeks, but it's hard.
It's so hard.
It's so hard. Can I ask you guys, is it almost an entrepreneurial guilt of saying no to anything? Because
because you're going to lose all your business.
Yes.
Well, it's that. And I think for me, sometimes I'm like, what can I say no to? Especially when it's asks, I have this privilege to have this business and I should be doing more. And I have a really hard time with that level of it too. Like, do I have the capacity to do it? Yes. Should I do it? Probably not. But it's a very difficult thing. And being a pleaser and
a fixer.
And there's things that I'm like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. Like, you can't have no time to do that. But.
Yeah, I say if I say no, now I'm not grateful, right? I'm not grateful for any success if I say no to that thing. And once I say no to that thing, now have I created bad karma for myself? And now it's all going to come.
That person's never going to come back.
Yeah.
And who are they going to tell?
Yep.
That's never the way it is.
Totally.
Maybe we need to check in with each other. We can be our accountability partners like twice a week. Like, what did you say no to?
Time. I was really good about it till September, and I feel like my schedule just went to shit in September. And the kids went, like everything just, I lost it. But I was like, okay, once a week, twice a week, this is for me. Whether it's I have a yoga class I like to go to once a week that I haven't gone to since June. I'm not going to lie. I used to go once a week for like 2 months and I loved it. And it was I left like high. And I was like, I took my time and then none of my work stuff was there. None of my kids stuff was there. Yes. It was amazing. And then life got busy, but it's like, setting those things and being like, this is now in my calendar.
Yeah.
This is it's just like therapy. Like, I'm actually annoyed because I decided tomorrow I'm not going to work. I have a pretty clear calendar. I'm not going to work. The kids are off of school. We've been having a lot of trauma at home with my kids. And I was like, we're going to spend the day and they're just going to be together. And then I was like, shit, I have therapy. I was like, should I have therapy? Right. I'm like, damn it. Can't skip that. Okay, fine.
I actually fired my therapist.
Did you?
In July, and I haven't had I've been off therapy since July.
Oh.
Because, you know what? Because I realized that I was able to talk around things and she wasn't busting me.
Yeah.
Like if something was getting a little too close, I was able to be like, look at this shiny object over here.
Yeah.
And she
want to hear about trauma?
Yeah, and I was able to just come up with something and kind of like get away from the thing and she wasn't sniffing that out at all. And I was like, oh, this is not good for me.
Yeah, it happens though. Even some of the best. I mean, there comes a time where you just have to, it's time to be done. Yeah, I have fired many a therapist.
Really? So, okay. Yeah. It's not the worst thing.
No. And even the one I love, she was in my life at a very specific time. And when I went back to her at a new time in life, I was like, I don't need this anymore. I don't want this from you. Because the way her methods worked great for then, and it's not what I need now. And I would find myself driving there. I'm like, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is what I'm going to say. This is probably her response. This is what I'm like. Yeah. Oh, I just pre-planned my therapy.
Controlled your therapy.
Yeah. I really just micromanaged everything. I'm like, this is not clearly the right the right therapist for me at this time. And I still recommend her to everybody. I think she's amazing, but it was time.
Yeah. Regarding saying no, have you guys ever done a gig? So strictly professionally now. Have you ever done a gig where you did something and either before, during, or sometimes it doesn't happen until after you realize we just didn't make any money on that? That was just the stupid. Why? Mm-hmm. How did I get roped into that? Like, how did I say yes to that? How did I let that happen?
Mm-hmm.
We paid them to do this for
pretty
them.
much, yeah.
It's usually samples. Events that are like, well, you sample for this.
Mm-hmm. Exposure.
Yeah.
It's exposure.
So I've actually worked that in because we've done it so many times and been mad about it that since it's usually those types of events, I make everyone stop. Like, you can't just grab a sample from my table.
Yeah.
You have to talk to me. Or like,
Smart.
even for
Knox,
we would have samples, but we would have a spinning wheel with like prizes. And people be like, oh, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, you want to hear about Knox? Like, let's talk. Like, while you're spinning the wheel. Because I was like, people just grab and go with those things.
Oh, you're so good.
Well, and
And
it's
I'm like,
knowing the right ones to go to because there's so many are so alcohol heavy now where I'm like, if I can't, if it's a time, like I can pick a time slot. If I'm not in the first time slot, I'm not doing it because you're just drunk and need food or you're bumping into shit. So I think you got to be real strategic about those ones because they put it in this big shiny envelope. Oh, this exposure, you're going to have 1,500 people are going to know your name. I'm like, the hell they will.
Yeah.
No, so you got to be really, really choosy about those things.
You got to be, I mean, I got to be better at it. The exposure that, you're going to get so much exposure. Like you said, 1,500 people. There are a few things where I felt like that. I felt, great, this was good. We did good here. And there's been just so many more where I'm going, that wasn't at all. No,
all right. So we haven't gotten into you, and I think this is a good segue.
Yeah.
So we talked about you being a radio personality, and while you were a radio personality, my understanding is that you started your own sauce company.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about these events and samples and giving stuff away and getting exposure, you were legitimately inspiring. Everywhere we went, we saw you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks.
Pauly G and Guglielmo sauce was everywhere we ever went for years. And so leading up to the pandemic, because then there's obviously less places to go.
Yeah.
But it was like, you're going to see Pauly.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and then if I got to work next to you at an event, I was like, I remember the one we worked next to
I'm
each
going to
other.
go home with sauce.
Well, no, I got to know you because we got to actually like chat and I got to know you a little bit. I think you were expecting your son or like had your son.
I remember the exact event being next to you because I
right.
knew Aaron before I knew you, but I knew I knew you, I just didn't know you. And but I knew Aaron, but you were always like the ominous force, and so like I was like she seems like the secret weapon. I want to meet her, and then we were next to each other. No, I was like, she's the freaking driving force. Like I want to know her.
I'm actually really insecure and really shy. Nobody thinks that when they meet me. So.
I think that's a lot of us who are kind of loud. I think that's secretly in there for all of us, actually. All I really want to do at any given time is go home. Like, somebody says, go big or go home?
Like,
don't ask.
Like, that's not an option.
Yes.
They're lying. There's no two choices.
Can I go big from home?
Yeah. No, they're underestimating my willingness to just go home.
Go smaller.
So let's circle back to you creating your sauce.
Yeah, how did that start?
Well, there's the romantic story about going to my grandpa's every Sunday my whole life. That's all true, very much so. It was in my heart.
Well, I made a fire, so get the romance going.
Yeah. I loved it, and then I moved to Rochester. I'm from Ohio originally.
Oh, okay.
So I moved here in 2007. I'm from a little town, Conneaut, Ohio. So I'm about 3 hours from here. Not too far, just across the border in Ohio. I was homesick. I knew nobody. I moved to Rochester with 0 friends. Nothing. Had a little studio apartment on East Avenue, and I worked on the radio station. And I went to work, and then I went to East Avenue Wegmans, and then I went home. And repeat, and repeat, and repeat. And that was it. And I just waited to go back to work. And I did that for about a year, thinking I would go to a larger market. Turns out I'm not very good.
Oh,
so
I loved you on the radio.
But it wasn't. Nobody else did. So it wasn't in the cards. But at the same time, fell in love with Rochester. It was like supportive of itself. It can be a little obnoxious how Rochester really loves Rochester.
Oh, yeah.
But also, like, if you're in Rochester and Rochester loves Rochester, you feel supported.
Right.
And it does that. And like, I didn't get that back home in Ohio. I didn't feel that. But because I was away from family, I was a little homesick, and so I started doing sauce on Sundays at home. Then I would bring it in and start sharing it with my coworkers on Mondays, the leftovers. And it's that good old-fashioned, hey, you should bottle that. One day on the radio, Brother Weeze is trying some sauce. Brah, it's delish, you know?
That was a good Brother Weeze.
Brah, it's so
For
good.
those of you that don't know Brother Weeze, that's what he sounds like.
Bro, I'm telling you, if you bottle this sauce, people out there would buy it, you know? And I remember getting something like 20 texts, because they could text to the radio station in real time, which was terrible for my self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because I was called fat and stupid every single day on the radio.
Seriously?
Yes, people, imagine your Facebook comments, but in real time, and it's your job to read them. It was worse than what it's like just having a Facebook. But there was also support. And I always feel bad when I say that, because 90% of it was positive. But there was always, the 10%.
It doesn't make the 10% not exist.
No, exactly.
We all know the 10% is what sticks.
Oh, it's terrible. But anyway, after he said that, I had something like 20 or so texts from people saying, hey, I would buy it. I would buy a jar of sauce. And my original business plan was literally just, if I buy 20 mason jars and make 20 jars of sauce and sell them for $1 more than I made them, I could make $20, and that would pay for me to go to Wegmans tonight. That was it. That was the business plan.
It's very concise, to the point.
Those goals are achievable. They're meetable.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
We should all start there.
Yeah.
Start there.
Start there.
I did start there. I went and made, and I sold the very first sale I ever made. I sold a guy 12 jars of sauce out of my trunk. I met him at a gas station in Greece and sold him 12 jars of sauce. So then I decided, well, it's time to go legit. And I did all the Googling that you do and basically jumped through those hoops and eventually got there. And like you said, just started doing every farmer's market and every festival I could sign up for.
You were everywhere.
It occurred to me that there's 1 million people in the metro of Rochester. And then Park Ave Fest had like 100,000 people or something. I'm like, if I just do all these festivals, I could meet all 1 million people.
Right.
It's stupid, but...
Does everyone think they know you now?
It does happen a little, yeah.
Well, now I laugh because I'm like, well, he got bigger because he's not at the table. You've got other people working him now.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't that feel nice?
Yeah, it does. It's also tough because there is a little bit of micromanager in me, which sucks. But I have to admit my flaws, right? I'll hear from other vendors who did it with me for years who will say, hey, that person you have working sat and looked at their phone for a half hour.
Oh, yeah.
And,
nobody loves your product like you do.
Right.
That's
the other thing is when we do these events that we're pretty sure we're going to lose money on, Aaron and I do them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no one's going to sell us. So if I'm going to lose money, I might as well hopefully make connections for the future.
Yeah.
No one's going to sell us like we sell us.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part of having other people do it for you.
Right. And it's what is the trade-off? What are you able to do in that time that you're not doing that? So even if you're maybe losing money, is it you get to spend more time with your family? Like if the trade-off works, then...
Sometimes it needs to because it's, we're talking summer weekends and just stuff that really I need to be present for.
Right.
I need to go be a husband and a dad once in a while. But then, I know what I would have sold at that festival, and then I look at what we did when I didn't work the festival, and it's different. It's a different number, and that's tough. That's tough. So it doesn't help the mic. So everyone hates a micromanager, right? But that doesn't help you learn how to not be a micromanager when you're going, well, fuck.
This is why I micromanage, because shit gets done.
Yes.
Well, it's down to, are you pulling in new customers with your personality and your story and people knowing about you, or are you just selling to the people that know you're there and are coming to look for your product?
Yeah. Well, it is music to my ears. There's still plenty of people who've never heard of us. They've never heard of the product. And so that is music to my ears when that happens because...
Opportunity.
Yeah, it's opportunity. Exactly. So, I've had people before who are like, oh, are you offended when that happens? I go, no, that's the best.
Yeah.
That's a potential new customer. That's great.
Yeah. That's a chance for me to tell my story. That means you don't know all the other stories.
Yeah.
Some of them are not great.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're jarring your sauce and you're still on the radio.
Yep.
At what point in time are you like, I want to go big?
I start to become sort of disenchanted with the radio business. I start to become very unhappy. I loved radio, and I still, how's the way I word it? You've heard people say this before. I loved my job, but I hated where I worked. I worked for a large corporation. It wasn't, I just sort of started to lose trust in my leadership. And there were just a bunch of things that happened that made me start to go, I don't like working here anymore.
Right.
I really love this little sauce thing that's starting to take off. And at work, honestly, it wasn't going well. Radio in general, I mean, podcasting is where it's at now. FM radio's fine. It is fine. It's okay. but it's more niche than it was when I first started. Sure. It was very mainstream when I first started. Everyone listened. And now, people listen, but smaller. But the people who do listen are very dedicated to the things they listen to. So that's good. So if you're an advertiser, because I know you're an advertiser, that's good because the people listening are listening with intention of supporting.
Right.
As opposed to back in the day, there was mass audiences who were just channel surfing. Right. You know what I mean?
And they're just going to skip channels.
Right.
Yeah. I just fall out of love with it, but I really love the sauce business. And more importantly, I really love entrepreneurship. Just getting a kick out of that.
Right.
And I'm starting to realize maybe I have a little bit of a knack for it. And I took the leap I decided in January of 2020 to take that leap. Yeah.
Good timing.
Yeah. But different than your businesses, which of course I feel terrible about what that did for your businesses. Food manufacturing was a much different journey in early to mid 2020. It was not a bad business to be in. Remember what it was like to go to Wegmans in April of 2020?
So my house is primarily vegetarian, and I was just making stuff the other day with beans, and every once in a while I'm like, remember when I couldn't buy beans because everybody that ate meat suddenly bought all the beans?
Yeah.
And I was like, but can those of us that eat the beans please have some? Because I know you're not going to eat them. They're going to sit in your pantry until you throw them out in 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wegmans was a shit show.
It was a shit show. And
Wegmans is amazing if they want to sponsor us.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to be sponsored by Wegmans at any time.
It was not a bad time to be selling pantry shelf-stable items.
Yeah. Right.
We'll say that. But what then started to happen in mid-2020 was then supplies became limited. Glass jars that I could make a phone call on a Tuesday and have them delivered on Friday were now 6-week lead times.
Right.
And so then you started to get caught with your pants down and not really able to turn things around. So it was hard, but in a completely different experience than what you guys had.
All of those experiences affected restaurants because we're ordering in those supplies.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get the products to make the food and the glass jars, the beer and tequila and liquors, all got backed up because of the glass shortage. And I mean, you still see things like this happening. I'm pretty sure that school milks just got.
Oh yeah, that was
about,
totally the cartons.
They couldn't get milk cartons.
Yeah, and everybody just
happening?
thinks that this is all so figured out. The food supply chain is so well. And
5 years. I said at the very beginning, 5 years, and everybody told me I was crazy.
I quote you all the time. I'm like, we're not done yet.
And then you start learning things like there's this product you guys probably know called Kitchen Bouquet. It's like a browning sauce that we use in some stuff. It's sort of it's a browning and seasoning sauce, whatever. But it's in a really important product that we make for somebody else because we also co-pack for other brands. All of a sudden, that's nowhere to be found, and it's a 1 year lead time. And you're going,
that's not okay.
So you start drilling down and find out that it's distributed by the same company that distributes Clorox. And of course, Clorox was busy at that time.
Clorox is we're not going to do food, we're going to do bleach.
Yeah, they're we're not going to do seasoning sauce. Yeah.
Hand sanitizers.
Everybody's bleaching themselves.
Yeah. So it made me better from a culinary standpoint because then all of a sudden you got to figure out how to make browning and seasoning sauce that tastes like that. So it did make me a little bit more skilled, but it was a shit show.
Did you cook it all before deciding to do your Sunday sauce?
Yeah. Remember I told you I used to live in that apartment by myself? Yeah. My hobby was printing off recipes and then going to Wegmans, getting everything, and then going home and learning how to make stuff. Okay. And I would make some really interesting.
So just self-taught?
Sort of self-taught, and then also just a fat guy at heart. I mean that kind of in a good way. I shit you guys not. One Saturday in Rochester, in that first year that I lived here, again, no friends, didn't know anybody, and I would go home every other weekend because of homesickness. But every other weekend, I forced myself to stay here. One Saturday, I just made an entire Thanksgiving dinner just to see if I could do it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Just wanted to see if I could do it.
How'd it come out?
Yeah, it was great.
Of course.
I mean, honestly, that is something that I think entrepreneurs... that's a thing that not everybody would try. You have to be willing to throw yourself into the wolves and be like, I think I could figure this out.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the
What's my challenge this week?
That all of us share is whatever that niche is that we're going to just jump in and try it.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to jump in and try to make a whole Thanksgiving dinner by myself, which is insane.
It is insane, but you have to be insane to own a business. Don't you have to be think about the general idea of thinking that thing needs to get done, whether it's open a restaurant or a cannery or whatever, and then thinking, you know who'd be good for that? Me. You have to be a little insane.
You can't blame anybody else for anything.
Yeah, that's right.
So like,
I try.
I'm like, wow, my boss is an asshole. Like, Erin and I do it to each other all the time. I'm like, wow, your boss is a dick. Right? Can't believe she let you get away with that.
All the time.
Right. But I'm like, you hear so many people in the workforce and even my employees, and even my employees don't realize that I am they.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like most of the shit they bitch about, they somehow separate me from it. Like I'm a different person.
Yeah. They told us we have
like, I literally just had to cut everybody's hours because business is really far down and I don't have any money.
Yeah.
So we cut everybody hours, and then it was really slow and they had been ahead on everything. And we're like, okay, you guys can go home early today. And one of my employees got really upset and literally said, I thought I was guaranteed hours because of my position. And it was like, well, we've been honest and upfront about everything that's been going on for the past 3 years. Like, this shouldn't be a surprise. And where do you think, like, you make all of the food in the morning? So like, how how much food we sold last night. Like, where do you think the money comes from that pays you your paycheck? Like, am I just sitting on a throne of cash that's like, nah, you can't have it, But it's like
but people think that
like a
even
separation of like, they know me, they know what we do, they know all of the things, but there's no connection to, I don't have to prep any of this today because we didn't sell any of it last night, but I still want my paycheck.
Right.
They can blame the they. Mm-hmm. I just haven't gotten paid this month.
What do we say? Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nicer.
Must be nice.
I mean, and it's even you can be as open book, and I think you and I both are that with our employee. Like we're pretty honest.
Here's the number.
They still don't understand, and like I don't. Like, all of these things that we do cost money. Like, wow, we just need some more of this. We had more of this. I'm like
people will just kind of order supplies, and I had to cut that. I had a guy who was kind of ordering supplies, who I had given the password to be able to order the supplies from the place we ordered them. I hate to say it, but he was kind of a mark for my employees who knew that I was going to question everything.
Yeah.
They were going to come up to me, and sometimes, of course, I say, yes, we need that thing, and then other times I was going to be like, we don't need that. Here's what you can do instead. He was just kind of a mark and was buying everything. So we just started a new policy of now it's back to like, you got to write everything down, and we're going to talk about as a team. What is it that you need the little cartons for? Because we already have the medium-sized cartons. We don't need the small and the medium.
Right.
This is fine.
Right.
We can fit them both in that.
Well,
remember, slightly different business.
Right. No, but
actually
like
so similar.
Yeah, or that's a great deal if I buy in this quantity. I'm like, I can't. We just talked about this with the Jameson. We used to buy like 20 cases of Jameson, and it was a shit ton of money. Like now, like,
and then you're like, where am I stashing all of this?
Right.
Like, yeah, we're gonna get a price break. Yeah, we're gonna make money in 3 years if I want to put the investment in.
Right. Cash flow.
But I also need to store it somewhere. Yeah. So you're talking about like pallets of liquor.
Yeah. Well, that's a thing. Like, I just heard that episode you're talking about, and that's something people don't think about is cash flow. Like, yes, that is a better margin overall.
Oh yeah, in 2012, sure, that was like a no-brainer. Now,
I can also use that $10,000 to order in supplies or improve something
that I can make money on tomorrow.
Or something breaks next week and I just bought 3 pallets of liquor and now I can't fix the stove.
Right.
Yep. So one of my really early lessons, and you guys said something at some point, I don't remember, but it reminded me of crying at work. I cried at work because of a cash flow thing, because it was really, really early on into taking on manufacturing. And I had been doing fine up until then. I had kind of learned as I went and managed cash flow okay, but now it was a new level of cash flow. It wasn't, $600 out and $1,000 in. Now it was $6,000 out and $9,000 in, and net 15s and net 30s and net 45s.
So you're not getting that immediate.
And I didn't do well at first. I wasn't good at it at first. It took me a minute to get good at cash flow. And so I started the Craft Cannery with $30,000 in the bank. Jesus. Okay. And I thought, oh my, Oh, I'm
I'm
good.
going to spend $30,000 tomorrow.
Yes,
Yes. And I did.
Yeah.
I did. I think it was about 5 weeks later. I'm looking and I'm going, I got 2 payrolls in me. I got 2 payrolls left in me. And I went out and I sat in my car and I cried. And I was just like, how the fuck did I do this? Like, how did this happen? You know, but then I called a mentor or two and we figured it out. I went in and what were my bills that were due to me? What were my bills I owed out? And just kind of like, can I get some of those bills paid before I have to pay somebody? And that was a lesson that I think I've heard a couple other people go down on things like that. And you just got to kind of take a minute and figure it out. Right. But man, I got hit hard by that once. That was a scary time.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I remember sitting there and taking every penny out of my 401k after I left my regular job.
Too.
Yeah. And I remember the operator kind of asking me why I was taking it, and I told him, I'm investing in my business. What are you doing? I'm going to jar pasta sauce. And I just remember him being like, are you sure?
Right.
Do you really want to do this? You know? And I
That's
just
not a banker mindset answer.
No, they don't like that.
Bankers have a very anybody working in investments and banking, their mindset is very different.
Oh yeah.
Than the entrepreneur.
Right. I loved you talked at Rotary. Thank you for doing that, by the way.
You're
about
welcome.
Getting denied for a loan or something, and then having to argue to essentially proving the bankers wrong.
I told them they were wrong, and they approved me on the loan. I'm still in the process, so I don't want to talk smack. I'm not sure when this is going to end or when the loan's going to go through. So we're still hoping everything is in the up and up. But yeah, and you know why I did that? So we talk about support, we talk about bossy, we talk about you listening to the podcast and hearing things that resonate. We did a panel last year or the year before.
No, it's last June.
Time just all melts together now.
I just know because I was at a board meeting, it was last June.
And Tanvi Asher, who owns
Shop Peppermint.
Oh yeah.
She was on the panel and we were talking about banking and loans and things like that. And I had asked her a question about something about banking, and she said she started the business. She went in, she asked for a loan. They told her no, and
it was a line of credit.
Yeah. I don't know. It was something banking wise, and she said. So I told them no, and told them they had to tell me what I needed to do to get it because I'm not leaving without it. And I was like, you can what? I was like, you can do that to a bank? And honestly, it was that experience stuck in my head. So it's you have these experiences with other people who are going through similar things as you, and that's why this is all so important to support each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what's the worst that could happen if I mean, they already said no, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, no. Tell me what needs to happen.
Your
house is haunted. But I was like, no, tell me what needs to happen. And then they did. And I was like, oh.
I could do that.
Yeah.
I was like, thanks, Tanvi. I don't know her well. But it was it was just this one thing she said. And it was we have the power to do that.
Yep.
And even as business owners, people expect you to be on this pedestal of strength and wisdom and knowledge. But really, we're all these insecure people just trying it and just hoping it goes out well.
Right. Because the ones that aren't us, the ones that have all that bravado, those are the ones that usually don't make it. It's us that just have to keep trying.
Or they have a lot of money behind them.
True.
So they don't have to tell the bank.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important, like you said, that support and that willingness to be vulnerable. And that's part of what we've tried to create. And now we're creating with, sorry, everybody. Being able to be vulnerable and have those conversations. Yeah, I did get denied, and this is what I did. A lot of people aren't comfortable kind of sharing those moments. And I think that's why we're able to continue to raise each other up and rise in our industries, because we are having these important conversations and sharing. This didn't work. I started with $30,000 and I spent it in 3 weeks. Those are things that people need to know. It's important. It's important for the public to understand that we're not just. I mean, I remember somebody saying, you got a $25,000 grant. I was like, I don't want to be an ass, but
that's 2 weeks of payroll.
It's 2 weeks of payroll.
Yeah.
That's not even
it's
food
not
cost.
even 2 weeks of payroll.
But it's amazing and I need it and I'm going to take it and I'm super grateful for it, but I busted my ass to get it and it's going to cover about 2.5 weeks worth of bills.
Yeah. Well, I want to come up to grants too, because we won a big grant and I get that same thing too. But what you were hitting on before is rejection. I think that I just feel like people just in general, they just can't deal with rejection, and somehow we can. It sucks. I don't think we like it.
No.
But we've figured out how to just understand. We're just going to get rejected every day.
Yeah.
I mean, every single time I go to the grocery store, every cart that doesn't have Guglielmo's in it is rejection, right? I do.
Could you not?
Oh my God.
Could you
You
not?
just like we hang out in the sauce aisle, and you're like, so.
I'm not too proud to say that I've done that. I have, yeah. Or if I'll try to have cash on me, and if someone picks something else, I'll literally take $6 out, and I'll be like, if you just try this one, I'll pay for it. Here's $6 in this jar. So I've done that before too. Yeah. The most awkward is when I run into somebody I know and they have a different sauce in their cart, because then I feel bad. Because then they're like, I usually buy your, and I'm like, no, don't worry about it. It's totally fine.
Right.
It's okay.
Sometimes I'm getting the 99-cent sergeant jar, 99-cent jar of sauce to throw it in for something for my kids.
Yes.
They're not always going to appreciate your sauce,
to-
and I'm not wasting it on them.
Yeah, no, but it happens all the time. Every single, right now, since we started this podcast, thousands of jars of not my sauce have been purchased, right? But same for you guys, right? Every time you go by any restaurant that isn't yours, there's a car in the parking lot. That's somebody
Or
rejected your
anybody
restaurant.
that gives us a bad review. You focus and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm awful. I'm going to close. This is like every month. And then you like don't see all the good things.
Right.
Yeah. I just
Because
think
we're not for everyone.
I just think some people are just petrified of rejection. My parents are actually like that. And that's their biggest concern is that you're going to get rejected. Aren't you afraid you're going to be rejected?
How do they feel about your business?
I think they're very proud now, but I think really early on, my mother especially was very like, he's gonna get his heart broken. Just don't even try, because if you don't try, then you can't get your heart broken. Right. I can't do that either. But she was like that, and my father's a little bit like that. It just to them, it couldn't possibly work. Because what? Because all business owners are rich, and I wasn't rich.
Yeah.
But that's what they think. That's been frustrating.
Well, parents
too.
just want stability. They just want to know that your kids are taken care of,
Yeah.
and like they're going to be good, and you're not going to move into your attic.
Yeah. I get really proud of that. My mom wanted me to have a paycheck and benefits.
Yeah.
You gotta have benefits,
Gotta
right?
have benefits.
Yeah, and so she was just shitting her pants when this all started.
I got benefits.
Yeah, but now we offer benefits. And, I've shown her, like, we've got, look at this plan we offer. It's like this great plan. And I just think she can't even believe it.
Yeah, now you're offering the benefits.
Yeah, now we offer
You are the benefit.
Yeah, that's right. So the grant thing, too. Last year we got you're going to shit. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, I do know.
You do know? Okay. We got a $500,000 grant.
That was amazing.
That was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing. In manufacturing, to be honest with you, it's still kind of just a drop in the bucket, but it's not nothing. It's not nothing.
That's awesome.
We're doing an expansion on our building. The whole expansion probably is going to cost $1.5 million probably. So it's like a coupon, but still.
Right.
And
that's
people
still
understand that's, I assume, maybe you're rolling in thrones of dollars. But usually when we're doing these projects, it's debt-based. Like you're going and you're getting a loan, you're getting a mortgage, you're getting assistance, and you're putting it all out there with the plan that you're going to create these jobs and create these opportunities, and it's going to pay itself off.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. There will be debt taken on. There's been probably 3 major steps of my entrepreneurial journey, and in each time there's been some debt. The first one, it was $7,000. And I got out of that in a couple of months, and it was awesome, right? The second time, there was more, and now this time, it's going to be
first one
$7,000.
technically was $20, and then you made $20.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm like, wait a minute, yours was 20?
Yeah.
$20.
Yeah.
Mine was like 200.
Yeah. But the first, it's been lit, and then the next one was 6 figures, and now this one is going to be 7 figures.
Right.
And the 4-figure one worked, the 6-figure one worked, and now we're diving off the fucking cliff again for the 7-figure one, and it's very, very scary, but there is debt. And something that helped me was being around some very, very successful business people and just asking them about that and understanding that some of the most successful business people we know are still just swimming in debt. Based on their expansions.
Well, and debt is also cash flow.
Yeah,
like you talked about cash flow, and what I didn't understand until like a year ago, that sometimes cash flow is debt because you need the money in your bank to keep going. So you're not worried about that last payroll getting through.
Right.
And you can continue running your business, because when you're sitting out in the car crying, you're not actually able to work and move forward. And that's not normally a mental state that is just that hour of crying. It's usually a good surrounding time frame that you're not able to accomplish things because you're worried about if you're going to be able to pay the payroll that next week.
There's this phrasing I've noticed, like really, really successful business people, like the types of people who run billion-dollar businesses or, hundreds of million-dollar businesses, that they use when they say they're financial partners. That's what they mean. They mean the people who give them a bunch of money. The debt.
Yes.
People that give them their debt.
Ooh.
I've heard that a couple of times, and now I just will ask them. Just now I feel a little more familiar with a couple of those people. I'd rather...
the bank.
Yeah.
You're talking about the SBA.
You're talking about the bank giving you a giant loan.
About
Right?
that very wealthy man that invested some money into your company.
Yes. They're financial partners. Yes.
Nice.
Good relationships.
I've got a couple of those.
Yeah.
Being seven digits in debt.
Yes.
But
I like to say that I've been a reverse millionaire now twice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I got out of my reverse millionaireism in January of 2020.
Oh.
And then jumped right back into it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hard. I'm sorry.
The more debt we have, the more access to debt we have.
It is weird too. Like I remember being young and like they wouldn't give me like $1,000 credit
Right.
card.
Yeah.
And then
a couple million, take it. There you go.
pre-pandemic, I was getting things in the mail both at work and at home like constantly. We used to always joke and we're like, we're going to cash all this in and just move to Mexico.
Yeah.
Like screw it, they'll never find us. Like they just want to give him. They're like, here's $500,000. It's only a 14% interest rate, which now is a thing.
Yeah.
But pre-pandemic, you're like, oh my god, never.
Right.
It's like a 1% interest rate everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. It pretty much that pandemic, but we got so much. Because we had so much debt that people were like, well, you're paying it off. You're a good debt holder. We want you to get our money.
Isn't that funny how that works? Yeah.
But when you're paying all your bills by cash and you're getting everything paid on time and you don't have any history of that, they're like, no, you can't have $1,000 credit card.
The strangest freaking thing in the world.
I make $1,000 a week. When I was bartending, I'd be like, I pay everything in cash.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. That's one of the craziest things about how that whole thing works.
I try to explain it to my staff because I'm like, you have to build credit to get credit. Like you have to get out a credit card and just use it for like one thing a month and just pay it off.
Can I ask you this question? It's you triggered it in my head when you said about if somebody's entitled to hours. Can I ask you guys an HR question?
Sure.
I don't know the answer.
I'm not an HR.
We are not HR professionals.
I've just been through a lot of shit.
Okay, so we announced today our company Christmas party is going to be on a Friday in December, and it's going to start at 4:00. Everyone's going home at noon. Do I owe them the hours now that they're going home? Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's people who
are they salaried?
They're hourly. They're hourly full time. They work 40 hours a week, but they're hourly. Now I'm sending them home at noon on a Friday. Like, do I owe them hours 37, 8, 9, and 40?
I want to say no, but if you have them guaranteed 40 hours, I don't know.
I don't have anything guaranteed.
No, you don't know.
I don't think I do, right? Okay. I was thinking about that on the way over, and you said that night.
Where are you going to your party, though?
We're doing one of those igloos at the Rock Holiday Village.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That should be. And it's the first year, too. Speaking of growth, our very first year company Christmas party was just... I just got dinosaur barbecue and brought it and just had it in our break room. And then like the second year, I think we went to a restaurant. Third year, went to a restaurant. And then this year, we're actually having +1s.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first couple years we went out to my parents' house because they had a big pool out in the country and it was a lot of fun.
Well, and then your Christmas party in like July.
Yeah, we do Christmas in July. Because we opened in October. I'm like, I'm not dropping $1,000 on you people. I barely know you. That's not going to happen. And then we started doing fancier and fancier things, and now we just do it here because they just want to sit and drink and get high and have fun and hang out. And we've got a bar, and we just sit here and we just have fun.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do. They had a bocce tournament this year.
Oh, nice.
So we played bocce in the side yard. That's all they wanted. That's fine.
Yeah.
That is I can manage that.
Do you with Selena's, do you feel like you have to have the company Christmas party at Selena's, or you're like, let's get the hell out of Selena?
No, it depends. So like we used to do it at Knox when we opened Knox because it was outside of the place, but I could still control costs.
Yeah.
We've had it at Selena's, and Marshall Street has catered for us. I think last year we went bowling, which gets really expensive really fast. Bowling is another one of those industries that skyrocketed. I'm like, wow, this got way more expensive. The favorite thing they like to do right now is in the summer doing we used to go to Seabreeze. We used to go to Darien Lake, and then our staff was not quite sober enough to drive home, so we switched to Seabreeze because then you could get an Uber. And then it just was really pricey, and obviously, like I said, we've talked about it plenty of times. Up to 2019, we had cash flow. Parties were great. It was a great perk. No cash flow, so we've really kind of had to figure it out. So this past summer, the past 2 summers, we got a kickball field and a pavilion. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Great idea.
So much fun. And just seeing everybody hysterically happy and just having a ball together is my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
We bring water balloons and squirt gun, and it is like just a bunch of adults acting like children, just running around. And it's my favorite thing, and it costs a couple $100.
Right.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. You know, and so for the Christmas party this year, I'm still on the fence. We have not had a successful year. So I'm like, maybe I'll just have it at my house. I don't know. So I might just do Selena's because it's more open than my house.
Right.
I don't know. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
But they really like getting together. They really just want to hang out and get free booze and free food. And they love, you could try this in the igloo. You ever seen a saran wrap ball?
No.
Okay, listeners, this is important. I started doing it for my kids' birthday parties, and I brought it to our work parties, and it is one of the most requested things. You literally get a roll of saran wrap. I find that the dollar store brand works the best. And you get a bunch of crap, like kids' toys, things that are worth like $0.25, get scratch-offs. We've even done like little mini liquor bottles in there, maybe a couple 20s, and at the very end, we might have like a $50 bill. And so each item gets wrapped in saran wrap. And then you add more saran wrap, you add an item, you add more saran wrap, you add an item, you add saran, and then sometimes it's saran wrap, right? So you have this ball of crap. But some of the crap is good. And even like, the fake sunglasses and the rings and all, they love it. Mm-hmm. Everybody's wearing crap on their head.
Work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to the way you're supposed to play is wearing gloves. But this is not easy, so we do not wear gloves. You roll 2 dice, and the person next to you rolls, and as soon as they get doubles, your turn's over and you pass it down. And the next person rolls and you unwrap. And as far as you can unwrap, you get everything that falls out while you're unwrapping. And as soon as the doubles hit, you pass it on. Oh my God. It is like the one thing people ask for the most is now the kickball game.
And the saran wrap.
So I could literally just show up to work with the ceramic ball and I think I'd be good. I don't know that I have to have a Christmas party.
I'll drop off some tater tots.
Right.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that for my kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kids' parties, but adults love it too. And if it's too easy, make them wear gloves.
Yeah.
Full of good ideas.
Party. You didn't know what you were going to learn when you came in today, did
adults
you?
just want to have fun.
Yeah.
We just want to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
We're just big kids. Right?
Yeah.
Pie in the face, great game for your Christmas party.
Toilet trouble.
Toilet trouble.
What is toilet trouble?
It's a little toilet. It's a little toilet, and you fill it with water, and you spin the wheel, and it'll say 3, and you have to flush 3 times, and then it just continues
just like
around until it just water in your face.
That's funny.
We used to use it, and one day it just ended up being on the floor with water in it, and I walked out. Kat was drinking out of it, and I was like, "That's it. Oh, that's really cute. It's your new water bottle. It's the cutest thing in the world. I love it. It's your new water dish." So you have an expansion coming.
We have expansion coming. We're kind of at capacity. It's tough. We're kind of bursting at the seams right now. You were in somewhat recently. There's just pallets everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we're out of space for stuff. Great problem to have, but it is a problem.
Sure.
So we're going to basically double the size of our building, put in another bottling line, and then we'll have 2.5. We have like a bulk line for like food service stuff. So that's like a half a line because it's a little more manual.
Right.
So we'll have 2.5 lines. Should let us double our business if we can fill it. Our lead times right now are about 6. Actually, today we got 7-8 weeks. That's long. It shouldn't be that long. That's like, I don't know. What's a good restaurant wait time?
30 minutes.
Yeah.
30 minutes. Okay, that's 60 minutes. We're at a 60-minute wait time. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
a Yelp review right there.
That's a 2019 problem.
Yeah. My current sort of job is to understand we're going to open up all this capacity, but also hesitant because new equipment is a learning curve. So it's not like the new equipment gets installed and on day one we can run it.
Right.
It takes a little while. It takes weeks, sometimes even months to get any good at running that stuff. So I need to bring on the business to fill that line once we put it in, while also not over-promising on like how quickly we can turn that around. So that's kind of my world right now, is talking to clients who have that kind of volume and figuring out how can I take on their business, but in a year.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of the juggling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the juggling that's going on right now. Yeah.
Well, I don't have that volume, but I have that patience. So whenever you're ready, I do all of my stuff.
Yeah.
And I have no rush at all.
You got it.
But I don't need that much.
You got it. I've gotten better. I've learned also how to do things like inventory, keep an inventory. So that we don't have to do that. So if you do, it's risky because it's cash. But let's say you say, we want you to make our sauce, right? And you say, I want 10 buckets of sauce. We'll make 20 so that next time you need 10, it's ready.
Right.
And so we always stay ahead. That is good, but that can also burn you.
Sure.
Because every once in a while, that person just
Yep.
disappears.
Doesn't want 10 more.
Well, they're just gone.
The business can close. They didn't sell the sauce. They decided it wasn't worth the money. I'm sure there's like 1,000 reasons.
A million reasons,
and then you're stuck with.
Yeah.
Did you take it home?
We got stuck. It's there have been times where we get stuck with a little bit where stuff just goes home. Yeah, where it's just like, all right, everybody.
Yeah, because you can't. It's not like you can sell it. It's somebody's proprietary blend.
Like, Merry Christmas, staff.
Yeah.
I did. One guy
some barbecue sauce.
really screwed us, and I did donate his stuff to Food Link because I go, fuck, I don't care. He can't complain about that, guys. I asked him. I was like, we had about $10,000 worth of his stuff, and he just didn't even notify us. He just changed suppliers, and I was just like, right. So I'm just like, okay. I mean, you have the right to change suppliers, but
do you have it in your contract that you have to give notice?
But contracts are not that great.
Right.
They can't. It feels a lot.
Good if you want to take it to court, right?
Pretty much, and that's around the line. I would say I shouldn't say that out loud, like where the line is on where we go to court. That's around the line of we're going to take someone to court. We had somebody stiff us for $27,000. That was worthy of court.
Wow.
Unfortunately, they stiffed everybody and went out of business, so we're just in line waiting for that.
Yeah.
So we'll never see that either.
No.
But
so hopefully, at least you get the write-off.
We do. Bad debt is okay, I guess. At least it comes off. But with that guy, I asked him, and he said no. And I just went, well, I'm donating it. He was like, I'd rather you don't. I don't care.
Yeah.
There's just this is
you sue me.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw this away. This is good stuff. This can feed people. I feel like it's a happy in between for us. Just let me donate this stuff. That was a tough one. Yeah. Sorry, bad memories.
No, I get it.
Everything can't be great.
No.
But you're great.
What?
You are great.
I don't know.
So you have a home life.
Yeah.
And is your wife understanding of the world you're in? Is she not supportive? I know she's supportive, but has that been a struggle for her to kind of get on board with growth?
Early on, she was very supportive. I mean, I'm talking like the early Guglielmo sauce days.
$20
right.
Yeah, like that. She was all in back then.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of debt. There wasn't a child. There wasn't a mortgage. You know what I mean? Like we were just kind of young and like trying to figure it out. And so she was all about it then, which I thank God, because in the really early days, if she had been against it, it probably would have either ended the business or the relationship.
Right.
One of the two. But thank God, then she was all for it. Now she's still for it. She wouldn't in a million years. I mean, at this point, it's our livelihood.
Right.
But there's aspects of it that she...
Like, do you need to take out this debt and expand?
Yeah. Right, exactly. Do you need to go to the event?
Right.
I'm probably home 2 nights a week at this point, and she wants it to be every night of the week.
Sure.
And that's tough. That's really tough.
How old is your son?
He's just turned 5.
Okay. Is he in school?
He's in transitional kindergarten right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing till recently.
I didn't
Else
either.
I know
I didn't
was in
either.
it. I know for us, when Aaron took over the GM job back before we bought the place, before we even thought about buying the place, we had a kid at that point. And I was like, listen, you can't be gone all the time, because my dad was gone all the time. So we found a way to make sure that there were moments that we were going to be together. And for us, it was breakfast. So it was like everybody got up together and had breakfast. And then if you didn't see each other the rest of the day, like it didn't feel so lost. Do you guys have any things like that where you're like, on this day or at this time we do something?
Sundays. Sundays are pretty much off.
Day?
Yeah, Sundays are days off. This time of year, football. My wife likes football. I like football.
Nice.
Good.
And we do sauce on Sundays, believe it or not, still. So, there is Sundays.
Do you still do grandpa's sauce, or do you?
I still do grandpa's sauce.
Nice.
I still make it too. I don't dump it out of the jar. I still make the sauce. But it's really hard. Sometimes it'll be like Wednesday, and I'll realize I haven't really seen him. So I'm gone before he wakes up, and I'm back after he goes to sleep.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens 2 or 3 days in a row, and that really sucks. And on those days, I just think like this has to pay off, or else God, I just don't know what would happen if it doesn't.
Right.
Because, like, that's so depressing when that happens. I hate that. I really hate that.
Right, but you're also aware of it, and I think that's part of being in this life that we're in. You're aware, so you're making decisions. You'll make the time when you can, and it's intentional. Where I think in a more traditional 9 to 5 or whatever the schedule is, like those things aren't always thought about.
Yeah,
and I think that you get better about creating those moments, like so. When you said the thing about breakfast, it made me think there was somebody who said something to me once, and this person was also an entrepreneur, so it kind of surprised me. We had a lot of morning meetings, and I called Don and wake him up. He's not ever going to just organically wake up before 11 a.m. It's not his way. It's not his family's way. It's no, like his mother will sleep until noon. Like that's just how they were raised. Yeah. And a lot of his siblings have jobs that are, later in the day because of it. So it's just part of the thing. And at one point we were in a meeting and she said to me, it's 2021. He can do some things for himself. And I was kind of laughed it off and I didn't say anything about it. And then several weeks later when we were in a same space again, I was like, that thing you said, like it kind of about like sometimes that morning call, because it takes a second, for me to call and wake him up. And if we're balancing the things we do for each other, like he does so much and I am not.
I make a morning call.
Right, I wake him up in the morning. It's sometimes, but like sometimes it's the only time we have that is not work. We don't go to sleep at the same time. We've never, 1 or 2 nights a week he's home. So that's like we have completely opposite schedules. That moment, that first call, that first moment in the day is like really important. Yeah. And it takes a second for me to do. And like that's our connection. We may see each other again or talk, but it's at work and that's completely not the same thing. And I was just like, we have to be intentional about those moments sometimes. And leave me alone. If I want to do that, it's okay. It's not like I'm like bowing down to my man and waking him up because he doesn't know how to use an alarm clock. Yeah.
That's so much better than getting woken up to an alarm clock.
Right?
Yes.
So,
but Aaron wakes me up by opening all the drawers.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
We don't have the ability to be quiet.
Right.
That's a man thing.
We have to be intentional about the moments that we can have. And I think it's important. And you've said before, like, I'm not going to be at every game. I'm not going to be at every show. So I'm going to take my kids out of school and do a vacation because those are the things that they're going to remember. I think we just all have.
They're so busy most of the time that they don't even notice I'm gone. We were just away in Buffalo, and it took my kids like 12 hours to realize I was home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here I am feeling all this mom guilt, like, oh my God, I haven't been home all week. And they were like, oh, you're back. I'm like, I've been back for 12 hours. Like, I've been in the house with you.
Right. And gone for 4 days. Whatever. So.
I feel like I'm good about when I'm with him, I'm all in with him, like in the summer, like we got the Seabreeze passports. And, sometimes if I just saw 3:00 was my last meeting, I would just call my wife and be like, what's going on tonight? She'd say nothing. And I'm going to pick him up. I'll pick him up before we're going to go to Seabreeze for a couple hours. Right. And just all in. Just like, let's ride them all, dude. Right. Let's do it. We want to have for dinner. Let's get pizza. All right, let's do pizza for dinner. Just me and him. And we have this thing, it's a boys' night. And like I say, boys' night. And he's this little 5-year-old. He'll go, boys' night.
I love it.
It's the best.
And your wife is like, oh, thank you.
Yes.
Ladies' night.
But
yes. Oh, yeah, exactly.
She's probably just like supine on her living room floor.
Yep.
So quiet.
All the wine, all the quiet, all the TV.
Before we run out of time, can I ask you guys, I'm a big believer that failure leads to success.
Absolutely.
It's one of my favorite quotes by you.
Can you talk about, and I'll do it too if you guys want me to, can you talk about a time when you failed and you think it made you better?
I mean, I think I'm still failing on some.
We all are. Totally.
Things.
Yeah. We all are.
But like, there's just things. I was not in the restaurant world. Don was, since he could have a job, he was serving people on some level. So he's always been in this industry. And my background is in behavioral health and working with kids at Hillside. Yeah. So when I came into it, like I had all of these ideas, and there was times like he would kind of let me run with stuff, but some of it he's just like, no, I'm like, what do I have to try it? Because I know this makes sense because at this one time I had this job and it worked really well. And those were all like huge failures, but it kind of helped me understand that I don't know and I need to actually put the time in and learn about my industry and not just be a I'm smart, so I must know how things work.
There's day-to-day failures that we all are. We're never getting over that. Just day-to-day.
I mean, the union is. I mean, it's getting better, but man, that was something I thought we really could pull off well. I really thought it through. I'd been in the industry for a while. I felt like I knew what this area needed, and I think it's just because I'm ahead of my time. But man, there have been a lot of failures with that, and we're learning from them and adjusting, but it's been really disheartening.
So first of all, I always say that part of life is just learning that you're failing a little bit at everything. Because pre my adult life, I was more of a perfectionist and a control freak. And I always say it started with my first kid, because I even tried to control my pregnancy. And then at the end, everything went to shit. She was breech. She comes out early. Like, it was like a C-section. It was awful, blah, blah, blah. Didn't breastfeed. Like, nothing worked. I was like the biggest failure. And that kind of taught me that I can't control everything. And I've kind of grown from there. And I've failed. I'm failing at being a mom. I'm failing at being a wife. I'm failing at being a business owner. I'm failing at being a friend. I'm failing at being a daughter. I've failed at being a sister. Like, and I'm in therapy. But it's more than that, right? So I just closed my third business. I've closed 4 kitchens because one of my businesses had 2. I'm cutting hours, which I've never had to do before in my business. But I think back at, like you say, about the things we've learned. I think not only have I learned so much from having to close down things I loved, but I think back about the things I've learned along the way. Like, I learned about hiring and firing. I've learned about personalities versus skills. I've learned about partnerships was my next thing. I've learned about who I can work with. I've learned how to stand up for my values. I've learned how to use my voice, right? So it's like, but I've learned all of those things from not doing them and knowing I should have.
Yeah.
So like, it's a constant failure.
Yeah.
Or I'm just doing the best I fucking can with what I have.
Yeah, fuck yeah, you are.
It's really a positive way to spin it.
And I don't necessarily think closing a business is, I understand in a way, I see, of course, I see where that's a bit of a failure. But also not letting it completely sink you and knowing when it was the right time is not a failure. That's a strength that you recognize that and go, I got to get out of that.
Oh, one of them I was forced out of.
Yeah, because you were going to let it keep going.
I was going to take my whole house.
Yeah, I understand. Can I go into an area that I have no business in going to?
Yeah.
Tell us about your failures first.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got to get same answers as you guys every fucking day. I think I had a failure as a leader really early on into having employees. Because, for a few years, it's just you. Or at least in my case, it was just me, right? Muscling the business. Then I got a couple people who might do a few hours here and there. But then then I had 3 employees, then 6, then 10. Now I've got 14 employees. And really early on, I wanted to give them a lot of autonomy. And I wanted to, because I wanted that. I wanted to let them, hey, you're going to kind of be the production guy.
But you're an entrepreneurial mindset and didn't even know it. That's why you need autonomy.
So I was like, I would have wanted somebody to say, here's your project, and then just get out of my way and I'll figure out how to do this project. Let me sink into this.
Right.
But other people don't do that.
No. I'm a learner in it. Like, you can't train me ahead of time. I'm not processing anything you're saying.
I learned that, and man, we were just running around like chickens with our heads cut off. We were super inefficient, and I just let that go for a few months of me thinking, like, well, they'll figure it out, And then I realized if I just actually write him a process and tell him exactly what to do from A to Z, that it will get done the way I want it to get done. Then I'm worried he's miserable because now
you would have been miserable.
I would have been miserable. But then the biggest breakthrough on what I learned from it was it was one of my first employees. I talked to him about it, and he was like, no, thank God you did that. I didn't know what you wanted from me. Right. You wouldn't tell me what you wanted from me. I was frustrated on a daily basis because I was having to guess what you wanted. It was because I just wanted to let him just, hey, create, man,
And you might have an employee someday that you're like, hey, I really need a creative mindset.
Yeah.
And I know you're creative, so I want you to come in on this, but it's not everybody.
You said knowing personalities, right? So like that's the big, if there's 14 of them, and there's 14 different managerial styles there. And that wasn't day one me. Didn't know that day one.
Well, I don't think that that's a thing that really was done from my understanding of workforces prior to the recent years of like having to understand that everyone needs a different training process. They need a different.
It's like the love languages. You have to learn how do people learn?
Yeah.
How do people want to be helped? How do they want to be not criticized?
Some people just need to be heard.
Redirected.
They have to tell you they're miserable, and then they'll be happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get it all out.
I'm like, I don't want to hear about your misery today, but I know that you need this from me.
Yeah, we had that yesterday. I'm like, we're just gonna. I'm leaning in for our bitch session.
And then you're gonna be great for a week.
One of my best guys was a hockey player, and he's like the manliest man at my plant, and he wants like the coach treatment. He wants me to be like, come on, bro. Like he wants that. And I'm not that guy, you know? But he wants that. Like I've noticed it doesn't spark him unless I kick him in the ass a little bit. He likes being kicked in the ass. I'm like, who likes being, some people do.
I have a cousin that works for me, and I don't always employ family, but he is the person that if it's on his list of things to do, it will get done exactly as you tell him to do it.
Yeah.
If it's not on his list, so he found a dying mouse while cleaning one morning and sent a note to let us know.
Oh.
And I was like, well, that's because dying mice is not on his list. So we had to have that talk of like, okay, well, when you find choices, we need to dispose of them.
Yeah.
Like, that means the poison's working, which is good, but in the future,
they don't stay.
Just remove it from the premises.
Yeah. Please. That's we can get down to the weeds on that, but giving people a list or giving them a process to follow, that can be frustrating too, though, because I can get very frustrated. Something I can get very frustrated about is somebody who just doesn't do what they're told. I'm not good about they didn't do it again, and they didn't do it again, and they didn't do it again, and I'll talk to them, but I don't have that next level of like assholism.
Right? It's not even assholism; it's parenting.
Like, what do you do when somebody for the third time just doesn't do it? What do you do
when your son doesn't do it for the third time? Wait till he gets older.
Tell my wife.
So you need to bring your wife in.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah,
but it's like if you want the behavior to change, you have to address it every time the same way.
Yeah,
my kids come into work and they're like, you act like this at home. And I'm like, I know, because there are certain employees that I'm nice to because they're nice to me and they're the ones that love me and I love them. And there are certain employees that I have to be harsher with and have to be more direct and be like, we're working on this and you're not doing what I'm asking you to do, you know?
Yeah.
There's certain employees I can be sarcastic with and they respond to like a sarcastic, oh, we didn't get this done today. And I know that that's how they want to hear it and they're going to turn around and do it. But there's others.
Tell me on your list what you didn't get done and why you didn't.
Yeah.
Like
bring your list to me. I wrote it all out.
Right.
Are either one of you guys yellers at your employee?
If I yell, shit is not good.
How many times would you say you've yelled as the owner?
Under 5.
Okay.
But they were up big.
I'd say under 3.
Okay.
I'm more of a make them crier. It's so funny because people will be like, they have to go into a meeting with us and like get really nervous when Don starts talking. He's like, oh, I'm the bad. Like, I'll let you. Like, no way. Like, she's the one that, and I'll be like, so. It's like all of my hillside comes back. I'm like, I need to make you cry in the first 4 minutes of this conversation for this to go the way I need it to go.
So that we can go and move forward.
Exactly. So let me just get it out of you because it's going to happen anyway. Yes, Don, I'm talking about you too.
We had running chicken burritos, and I think that was 2 of my L's.
Yeah.
Because they kept not draining the chicken because it's stewed.
Yeah.
And they would just dump it into the burrito.
Yeah.
And and people, first of all, there's a couple of people that get just chicken burritos. I love them dearly and they've been coming to us forever, but it's like the plainest thing on the menu. So I'm always like, first of all, who's ordering a chicken? And then it's like the juice is like running out, right? So I had over and over and over redirected and kept being like, gotta remake this burrito, And I go out to a table, somebody else had ran the burrito, so I didn't realize it was runny, and they were like, this is disgusting, and I just came back and was like, what the fuck? And everybody was like, but it's like when you're at home, it's the same as parenting. Like, I've told you 17 times to not put this in the burrito, and you did it. It was like,
Yeah.
And I think it was literally within the same day, I yelled twice because of a runny chicken burrito. And I honestly can't think of any other time I've like flipped out, but the whole kitchen was just like,
Yeah.
She yelled.
Well, that's good. If you don't do it that often, then it's super impactful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At 9 years, I've yelled twice. Once was 5 seconds. It was just somebody who, it was just like,
literally, those were all of the words I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. One time was just quickly like, you have been told 3 times to do it. Why aren't, it was just the wrong moment. The second time, it was probably my single greatest failure I've ever had. I cringe. It is so embarrassing. I'd love to tell you guys the single biggest failure I ever had, because it was not just a business failure. It was a failure as a leader. And I cringe. It's so embarrassing, but I did it and I own it. And it was terrible. The guy who works our warehouse, or at the time at least worked at the warehouse, he's still with me. I had asked him to do a training. We have to do some cross training. Sometimes I need to get documented that everybody knows in general how we receive and ship product. And I had asked him, do a training, please. Just call everyone over here and just show them real quick the rundown. How do you do this? Well, day went by, he didn't do it. No big deal. Next day, hey, really need to get that training done. Do you mind getting it done today? He's kind of like, sure. I'm like, okay, great. Please, let's get it done today. Doesn't happen again. Day 3, finally I go, when's your next truck? 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock. I want to get that training done. 10 o'clock truck comes and goes. Doesn't happen. I go, now I'm stern. We have to get this training done. When's your next truck? 11 o'clock? 11 o'clock, this training has to get done. Now I'm paying attention. 11 o'clock truck comes. He starts loading the thing. And I just go back there and I go, stop. Please stop. We need to do this training. And he gives me the body language of, frustration. He just kind of goes, he kind of does that to me. And I clock it. Not ready to blow up yet. Not enough to set me off yet. But I just kind of clock it. I'm like, okay, he's giving me some attitude. This kid's giving me some attitude. So hold on. Please hold. The truck driver's right there too. Please hold, everybody. I need to go get my staff. We need to cross-train on this. Please. I go. I get the staff. I come over. As I come around the corner, the truck driver is going, you fucking kidding me? And my guy's going, yeah, can you believe this shit, And he's kind of leaned up against and I know this is not great for audio, but for the video, he's kind of leaned up against the wall. My employee's just kind of doing the thing with his eyes where he's just like, this is stupid. He's just got, this is stupid written all over. So I'm still kind of clocking that, but not ready to blow up yet. Still not ready to blow up. Just think at this point, I'm just thinking afterwards, I'm going to just pull him aside and talk to him, right? So I get the whole staff around. The truck driver just kind of goes, good luck. And he kind of looks at the truck driver and goes, thanks. Then he turns around to everybody and he goes, guess we're doing a training now. And I go, without the attitude, please. Still, even at this point, I'm not going to blow up on this guy. Without the attitude.
I would have blown up already.
I know, I'm so anxious already. Go on.
Wow, you have some patience.
Still, I just said, without the attitude, please, right? We're slightly elevated, but we haven't blown up yet. But I am really close right now. And he just kind of mutters something about just it being stupid. Just kind of like, well, it's fucking stupid. So, I got work to do. So, and I just go, get the fuck out. And he just looks at me and he goes, you can't talk to me that way. And I go, I just fucking did. Get the fuck out. And he says, you can't fucking talk. And now I start walking towards him. Okay. And I'm a large man and he's not that big of a guy. So I'm walking towards, not a physical threat. It's nothing like that. But I know that this is going to be imposing to him because I'm a big person. And I just kind of start pointing my finger at him, which is really uncharacteristic of me, but I just fucking lost it.
Sure.
And I just start pointing my finger at him. I just go, you gave me some fucking attitude. You're not doing your job. I've been telling you for days to do this. Now you get the fuck out. And I just screamed it. And he just broke. He just was like, and he just turned around and ran out the door. And I immediately felt, oh shit. I knew then I turn around and there's my employees and they're all just standing there like little puppies. They're all just like, oh my God. They've never seen that come out of me. That's really has very rarely ever come out of me. That kind of, that elevated.
I know it's not professional, but I don't know that you acted
Okay, so now let's break that down. So immediately I regret it. And then I proceed, by the way, to do the training myself, which was the most awkward thing. Right? Sure. They should have just said, let's reschedule.
Right.
This. But now we go through this 5-minute training.
Pauly, when's the next truck?
Yes. Now we just go through the 5 most awkward minutes in the history of my business of everybody just pretending that didn't just happen.
Right.
And I just, the whole time, it's of course all I can think about. And I immediately regret it. And I know what I should have done. Even in that moment, I know what I should have done. It should have just been the second he was clearly giving me attitude, I should have apologized. I should have said, I'm sorry, everyone. I need you to just wait here for a minute.
Right.
And I should have said, can I talk to you, please?
Right.
Gone into another
What's the
room,
confusion?
closed the door, and then come out a minute later, either with him, and now the training is going to happen, and he's going to be happy about it,
Right.
or without him.
Right.
Right? But that's what should have happened. That would have been the more impactful thing.
Or even just having him remove himself and doing the training and then dealing with it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so you're not.
Yeah.
We've had
So-
those moments where I'm like, no, I need you to leave. And again, it comes back to the same way a parent. I'm like, I need you to leave because I'm going to explode.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't need you to leave necessarily because of your behavior. It's because I need a minute to like do the right thing. Because
Yeah.
if I stay here,
That's going to happen, right? Yeah. So I live with that. Like, I think about that
But he
probably.
still works for you?
He still works for
And
me.
you talked about it?
We talked about it. He came back about an hour later. He like called me and said, I'm sitting in my car. Can I come in? He came in. We talked. He was crying. Made me want to cry. I did not cry, but it made me want to. I gave him a big hug. I told him I was
Like,
sorry.
I almost cried.
I gave him a big hug, told him I was sorry, told him I shouldn't have handled it that way. I just told my staff I was sorry. Like, and then for the rest of that day, I remember I got my hair cut later that day. Like, and I told the hairdresser about it. I was like, I told my barber, I was like, I did something really bad today. Yelled at somebody. I always think about that. I'm like, what a terrible
They say people
thing.
don't do
No,
things
wouldn't-
for 3 reasons. They don't understand, they don't find value in it, or they didn't hear you right.
Yeah. I think it was the second one, you know.
Right.
You know, and if you have value in it and they don't, it's
Yeah.
getting that across of why it's important, or they're not going to do it.
Context. We have, as the owner, we have more context than they have all
Like,
the time.
I know why this has to be clean because I know I'm going to get dinged by the health department.
Yes.
It's the corner of the floor, nobody else cares.
Right.
Yes.
You know, because they don't think about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Totally.
when you tell them, hey, I'd like to stay open when the health department comes, these are
Yeah.
the things that need to get
How
done.
do you guys feel about the DNC putting that thing where you can like search restaurants?
They've
and
been
see
doing
what
it forever.
Are you like
know what
this?
I don't like about it is it's not in context and it doesn't.
Yes.
So what people don't understand, listeners, is that it shows you the whole category you got dinged on. So if you got
Yeah.
dinged because there was a gap at the bottom of your door, you're getting dinged on the whole paragraph, but it reads like I got all of those things
Right.
dinged.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
My friend sent it to me and I was like, she's like, do you hate when this happens? And I was like, oh my God, here's all the reasons why I hate and why it's completely,
Yeah. So
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
So I know we're tying up. I know you have somewhere to be,
Yes.
but I also know that there is something you need to announce to our viewership. It won't be quite as new because by the time this airs,
Yeah.
but I know it's brand new today.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like inspired by Taylor Swift. Like, you know, like,
Aren't we all?
or like, and Beyonce, I think, has done it too, where the album just comes out and nobody even knew they were working on the album. Yes. So I just literally
That was
launched.
Renaissance, right?
Yeah, I just launched a whole line of sauces, just without ever telling anyone. I mean, there were people that knew. It's not like nobody knew,
Can we
but I
show
never
them?
told the public. Oh yeah, I forgot that we have video.
Yeah.
going on.
We got gifts. And
Yeah.
Kelly and I don't expect gifts, but we love
We
it.
love when they happen.
Yes. So I got one of each for both of you guys. So we have a steak sauce. We have a barbecue sauce.
Yes.
We have a Rochester style meat sauce, right, for your plate.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have and this is the one that's going to be a little tricky for people. We have a marinara sauce.
Ooh.
Interesting. Creating my own competition.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I don't
so,
think I saw this on the reel that you did.
Yeah. So I
awesome.
decided like I wanted to do. I did about a dozen sauces. I took them to events all summer, and I just let people try them.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the 4 cream that kind of rose to the top. 4 was never the number. Could have been 5, could have been 3, but these 4 really seemed to be hits. People kept buying them. I
That's
think
awesome.
that they're legit. You know, they got some repeat business. People would come back and go, "What's that?" And originally, I just had black and red stickers on them that said like meat sauce.
Yeah.
So people would be like, "What's that secret one that says black and red meat sauce?" So people were kind of hip that I was up to something, but it never really caught on. Nobody really talked about it. But so these sauces are called Slow. Believe it or not, there's a lot of marketing that went into that. It had to do with slow because slow cooked. Everything's better when it's done slow,
Yes, it is.
simmered, long, slow, long period of time.
Slower is better is right on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Love it.
We cook it slow so you can eat it fast, basically.
We cook it slow so you can eat it fast.
Yeah.
See that on a t-shirt.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, that's
Thank you very
amazing.
much. Thanks. I hope
Do
you
you got
guys
anything
like
else
it.
coming in the books before we close out?
The expansion's the big deal right now. There's other exciting stuff. Because of what I do with co-packing and private labeling, I have confidentiality agreements. There's a bunch of stuff I wish I could tell you guys. I'll tell you privately, but and anybody who wants to know, I'll tell anybody privately.
Yeah, our Marshall
Just
sauce soon at some
Marshall
point.
sauce?
Yes,
Exciting.
There you go.
But see, little things, I'm not even allowed to talk about that, right?
Well, I can.
You can.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Co-packing can be tricky because if I say anything about that, it can immediately be misconstrued as we make Marshall sauce.
Gotcha.
Do you know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Oh, yeah.
So that's something that I'm taught to be careful about, and it's true. You have to be careful about it.
Because people don't understand.
Right.
People don't even know what our business is.
Yeah.
So the second I say like, oh, we make Marshall sauce, boom, Paulie makes Marshall sauce. And you would hear that.
I would be okay with it.
Well, right, but you know what I'm saying.
You can attach your name to anything I do. That's fine.
So that would, But anyway, I'm excited about that. Yeah. I'll tell you guys some cool stuff off air too.
All right. Well, then we're going to end now so we can get the hot gas.
All right. And how can they find you and find Craft Cannery?
It's at Craft Cannery on pretty much all social media. I'm at Pauly Googs on all social media, Pauly Guglielmo. And the sauce.
Try spelling it. No, I'm just kidding.
The slow sauce, the stuff that just came out, if you go to our social media, there's a list. We're only in 10 stores, and that's all it's going to be for a couple months. Slow rollout, just 10 core stores. Some of the OGs who were with me from the beginning.
Good.
Guglielmo's is available at Wegmans pretty much anywhere in the Rochester area. So.
And I feel like so many other places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's almost anywhere that sells groceries in Rochester. So thank you guys so much. This
Thank
was
you.
such an honor to be here.
We're so happy to have you.
You guys are inspirational. I love that you do this podcast. Please keep going. It's
Oh, and
so
you have
great.
a podcast.
I
We're
do.
going to talk about that.
I do.
And your podcast is?
It's just called Pauly Guglielmo. It's not very good, though.
It's good. I like
well,
it.
you said lots of things weren't very good that we disagree about.
Exactly.
It's actually Pauly Guglielmo, the podcast.
Oh,
So,
good.
there you go. Good. I could say that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pauly.
All right, Pauly G.
He's something else.
Oh my gosh. So, Craft Cannery, amazing. If you're looking to bottle anything. Guglielmo sauce. I'm a huge fan of the vodka sauce.
I love that he came in with like 17 sauces for us. It was like, I'm not even near through all of them either.
I know. I love it. I was like, you know me, I love gifts. Nobody has to give us gifts, but I love gifts.
Right.
And he has his own podcast, so you can listen to him talk all the time. And it's called The Pauly Guglielmo Show. If you can't spell, his name is Guglielmo.
Yep.
But
Guglielmo.
I'm so happy that he's part of our group now. And you can hear him come talk at Focus and Fortify in March 11th, 12th, 18th, and 19th. BossyRock.com for tickets. BOSSYROC. Super excited about that.
Very excited. And our next interview in honor of International Women's Month is Imani O'Lear. I won't get into her story because there are so many levels of who Imani is and what she does. I have no idea what she's even going to talk about. So, be incredible.
I'm obsessed with her.
I know.
It's kind of scary. I'm sorry, Imani, but I just love you.
I don't think it'll scare her because I feel like many people feel that way, for sure.
You had spoken about when you saw Shelby across the room, and I did the same thing when I saw Imani. I was like, I need to know this woman.
Yep.
I need her to tell me things because I just want to listen to her tell me things.
She's a wise woman.
She's my lady crush.
Excellent.
So
All
International
right.
Women's Day coming up. We'll see you guys in March. And
Be bold.
be brave.
Be the boss.
Be the boss. Bye.
Bye.